Okay, so this session, next question, find the S3 output location of a Kinesis stream. Okay, so this is very specific to the claims analytics solution, is which why they're asking this question. So all the solutions exist in a CloudFormation stack. So you go to CloudFormation, you should see this page just for the online claims solution. Their default branch is called base. And then if you just click through each of these tabs, it tells you different information about this stack. So this stack is a collection of different AWS resources. So you have like a Lambda function, and then the Lambda function would contain business logic in it. It would accept incoming payloads and then send out a response. Then that would be fronted by an API gateway, as in the API gateway would be a wrapper around it, around the Lambda function. And that API gateway just adds some security in this example. Then we also have S3, and then we're using S3 for, I believe it's for logging the inputs and outputs. And we've got DynamoDB to keep copies of different states of claims. Okay, so the question was, how do we know the S3 location from a Kinesis stream? So there's a few ways that I'll go about this. So I'll just go through the different tabs just quickly. On CloudFormation, you've got an overview of all the different attributes of the stack. If you click on events, it gives you a history of all the different changes that the stack has made to this collection of resources. So you can see it anytime it creates a new resource or deletes a resource, all those kind of actions will get tracked in this events tab. Then the next location would be the resources. So these are all the different types of AWS resources that we're going to be looking at. So again, this is trying to get you familiar with the pattern of finding information. So it's best to come to CloudFormation, and here you have a reference to all of the resources that are defined in your stack. So if you scroll down, I've just ordered it by alphabetical. What am I looking up? I'm looking up Kinesis. So Kinesis, we're looking at Kinesis Firehose. So Kinesis is used for streaming data processing, but Kinesis Firehose is a tightly coupled service between streaming data and Redshift or S3. Now in this example, we've coupled the streaming data between Kinesis and an S3 location. So the question was, how do we find what that S3 location is? So one way would be to go to the Kinesis page, bring up these resources, and find the locations. So that's one approach. I'll just quickly go over some of the other approaches that we could use. So when defining this CloudFormation stack or collection of resources, sometimes whoever put this template together, they might be have enough foresight to see, maybe it would be great to, output the location of the S3 files into this list of variables. So these are just output variables of this stack that might be beneficial for usage or reference later. So you've got things like API endpoint IDs, DMS locations. These are all the different API endpoints. So it's just nice to know pieces of information. But in this example, the S3 location wasn't actually presented here. Then I'll just cover off on a few more things. Parameters. Parameters is input parameters. So when you're deploying this collection of resources, you can define input parameters. So these are some of the input parameters that were used when deploying this. And then we get to the template tab. So the template is the actual template that was used to define all the resources that we need. So remember, we had Lambda function, API gateway, S3 buckets, DynamoDB. All of these would be represented in this document, in this template document. So let's just look up one. The Lambda function. So here we've got an entry for a AWS Lambda function. That's for the calculate eligibility. And then below that, you'll find all the configuration. Let me just make that a bit bigger. You'll find all the configuration items applicable to that specific Lambda function. So you can see that it's got tracing active, you've got different tags attached to it. It's got the memory size, you've got environment variables, you've got the timeout, what's the runtime environment, so it's Python 3.1, and it defines what the function name is. Okay, so another way is you could look up the Kinesis Firehose. So you can see here it's got the AWS Kinesis Firehose delivery stream. So you could inspect the actual configuration of this stack via the template and try and work out, okay, where is the S3 data being saved to? So if we look through here, we've got one. You've got prefix. Just before we continue, if you do want to find any reference material, you can just plug in the type of resource into Google. Normally the first entry comes up and that will take you to the reference material for CloudFormation. Then you can look through each of these and you can see definitions of each of these attributes. So what I was looking at was under properties, S3 destination configuration. So let's go to that. So S3 destination configuration, then it gives you explanation of what that is. Okay, but this one is expecting a S3 destination configuration item. So you got to click through that, and then that item has these different attributes. Now what I was looking at was, I was looking at the prefix. So you can click on prefix. So this is basically the directory structure that it's going to be saving the data to. And let's just go back up. And then the second one was the bucket ARN. So it's the Amazon resource name for the S3 bucket for where all the data is going to be saved. Okay, so those are the two pieces of information that would be helpful to determine where all of this data is getting saved. So there's the prefix, and then here's the, let me make that a bit smaller. And there's the bucket ARN. Now this one's a little bit special in that it either takes an existing bucket or it creates a new bucket resource. Now I have to go back. Let me just take a copy of all of this. So I have this for later. Now let's go back. Let's go back up to my resources, parameters. In this example, we've specified the S3 bucket name. So this corresponds to this value. So it's saying, okay, in this stack, we're actually going to be using this bucket name. So that's the name of the S3 bucket. So you could go to S3 directly, open up S3. Plug that in, that's the first one that comes up. Okay, then I've got all these different directories. So which one is the one that I'm looking for? So then I'd look at prefix. So prefix consists of stage, team label, project name. Okay, so I believe stage, I think these are all variables, input parameters. So let's go back up to here. So you can see stage. Let's bring that a bit smaller. So I got stage, so I'm looking for dev. Where did that go? Here. I'm looking for dev dash team label. So team label is deck int, and then project ID. Project ID is this one. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. Then I've also got this bunch of other bit. So what this has actually done, it's getting the stack ID. So that's referring to the CloudFormation stack. So it's getting this whole ID. And then it's trying to break it down. It splits by slash. So what it's done, it's gone through this and found any slashes and broken them down into different elements. And then I believe it starts with 0, 1, 2. So it said select the second element. So ignore these two. Then it's split by dash again. So it's done this. And then it's select 1. So this is, again, this is 0. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. So what it's done, I'm selecting this entry. So it should now take that value and add it to the end. So that's the directory structure that I'm looking for. So if I go back to my S3 bucket, hopefully if I plug this in, I might be missing something. I missed that bit. Okay, sorry. Let me just redo that. It's basically grabbed this. Oh yeah, I missed this bit. Okay, so that was the code. Then I go over to S3. This, sure. Okay, yep, add extra space. And here, now it's got the location of where the data is going into. So this was the prefix. So that was all of this bit. And then this one is going into the decision request folder. So that is this bit. And then once you get to this bit, Kinesis will automatically break down into individual dates. Okay, so that is one way of finding the location of where the data is getting saved. It's a little bit manual. You have to actually be a little bit familiar with interpreting CloudFormation templates. The other way, I believe you should be able to navigate through the web console. So let's do that. So I mentioned that you can find your resources. Let's order them. Then I've got my Kinesis delivery stream. I've got 4 of them. Let's just pick one of them. Okay, so here we've got data streams, Firehose, analytics. It should fall under Firehose. You should be able to just plug it in by name. Okay, so then that comes up. I believe you should be able to find somewhere in here, possibly the configuration data. Okay, so under destination settings, it's got a link to the S3 bucket. So this is probably a much easier way to locate. So you got a link to the S3 bucket directly. That's taking you to the bucket contents. Then you've got the prefix, so that's the directory. And you can just whack it in here. And then it takes you straight to the year, the month, the date, the hour, and then the underlying files. So yeah, those are some of the ways that you can find the S3 location for a Kinesis Firehose. Again, the main ways, or the three main ways, is navigating from CloudFormation in your stack, find the names of the resources. So when we're looking at the names, make sure you're looking at the physical ID. These are the physical representations of the resources that are deployed. Logical IDs are just applicable to the template or this stack and have really no meaning account-wide, really. Then you've got the different types of AWS resources, and yeah, it shouldn't be too hard to work out which resources that you're looking for. That's one way. The other way, as I said, if the developer had enough foresight to expect that someone's going to need that S3 location, they could have created a new variable with a S3 location and then have the address to that S3 location here. So that's another way. Or the last way is actually sifting through the template file, looking up for the specific resource type that you're looking for. So we're looking for the Kinesis Firehose, understanding how to look through the documentation, finding that we're going to look for the bucket ARN, and we're also going to look for the prefix. So once we've got those two things in mind, then we can go through. We found the prefix here, and then below we've got the bucket ARN. All right, that's it. Thanks.